Welcome back to The Fight. I'm Maureen McFadden. With us now in the studio is Scott Clyde, the Executive Director of Enrollment at Notre Dame. And Scott, welcome to The Fight. We're glad to have you here. And I understand this is kind of new to you. What attracted you to Notre Dame?
A bit new to me. Yeah, thanks and good afternoon, Maureen. I think the first thing that attracts people to Notre Dame is it has a very strong brand. The job opportunity was amazing, and I knew Notre Dame, and I knew its name, and I knew it stood for excellence. But what was really impressive when I started talking to Don Bishop about what the mission was and what the goals were that the university had set in front of them, and it was something I got on board with immediately.
Okay, and I understand you were a first-generation full college studentship on full financial aid, so you certainly know how all of this works, and it's not always easy for kids. So tell us how important the financial aid is to children, students, changing their lives.
So I can speak from firsthand experience here, right? First-generation families oftentimes don't understand the inner workings of, one, what affording a college education entails, what resources are available to them, and there's just so many things that they need a little bit of help with. So financial aid is critical to thousands of students, not only here at the University of Notre Dame, but tens of thousands across the nation. And it's one of those things that we really couldn't have the on-campus experience with the breadth of students looking to better themselves and be part of that force for good without it.
Okay, and to put it in perspective for people, what percentage of Notre Dame students would have been on financial aid for this academic year?
It's a little less than half. We had about 4,000 students receiving some sort of assistance from the university, so it's a significant number of our students that need help.
Okay, so what was the average gift size? Can you tell us that? And also, how much did we extend in total?
I think it's easiest to say in total. In total, it's a large number. We're talking upwards of $155 million in our annual budget for financial aid for our students at the university. And I think what's important is not so much the averages, it's that every student's situation needs to be handled individually. We've got students and families that range from needing just a little bit of help to those that need full support to attain an education here at the University of Notre Dame. So our student financial services team that's headed by Mary Nucciaroni in financial aid and Gene Pulowski in student accounts, they do a wonderful job getting right down to the individual student and family level to help understand what it's going to take with their individual circumstances to afford an education at Notre Dame.
Okay, and now we've got the economic downturn with 30 million Americans filing for unemployment. That's impacted families of our students and is one of the few colleges and universities in the country that still meets the full financial need of its students. How much more are you forecasting we'll need in the financial aid for our students this upcoming academic year?
That's a great question, Maureen. When we say forecasting this, the models are kind of all over the place. You've seen all different types of models, financial models being one of them. This has been one of the starkest economic downturns in a while. I used to look forward to Thursdays, or at least I didn't hold anything against them, but that weekly jobs report that comes out Thursday morning, it's been really hard to pay attention to. So, those are the things that when we're looking at what it's going to take for Notre Dame, we're talking about adding millions, if not tens of millions of dollars in need. We've got the average student. Again, it's hard to talk averages because these are individual students and families, but
of course.
we know that there's going to be some percentage increase in individual students that are currently on aid, and we're going to have students that have never needed assistance to pay for a Notre Dame education that are going to need help this coming year. Absolutely.
Okay. So what resources does Notre Dame have to fund financial aid?
Well, the budget comes from operating revenues. There's also some responsible lending that goes into that, whether that be individual loans or through the government. But the vast majority of help that our students receive in financial aid comes from gifts from benefactors to the University of Notre Dame, like are watching right now. And without that, we really would not be able to be one of those few schools that we talked about earlier that meets the full demonstrated financial need of students and families. There's, let's call it 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States, and less than 100, it's closer to 70, actually meet the need of students like Notre Dame does. It's unique.
So what we're doing here today for the Relief Fund is very important.
It's critical. I mean, to follow through on Father John's promise that no student will abandon their educational endeavors at Notre Dame because of financial hardship, this is critical. I know it's at $7.8 million is the goal, and I think that's a great start to getting there. But again, those models show us it could be well in excess of that.
Okay. How soon will the money raised here today be used for our students?
We're already, so before the money comes in again, we've committed to meeting the need of students. So we're not waiting for money necessarily to come in. Those students that have needs that began in March that were related to this, whether they were increases in transportation. Some students were food or housing insecure, and they've already been receiving some assistance. Some were technology needs, so the university is already meeting that commitment. It's certainly not waiting, but there's a lot of initiatives and efforts in place to continue to meet what our students have.
Certainly good to hear. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Scott. We
Thank you, Marie.
appreciate it.